I'm feeling something I feel like I shouldn't. I shouldn't be feeling mad at my friend right now. I shouldn't be feeling jealous. I shouldn't be feeling mad at my kids. Often that's, oh, I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling bad about the way I'm feeling. Isn't that interesting, right? It's just that awareness.
Welcome back. I'm with the amazing Dr. Alison Cook, and she has literally the best book on emotions that I have ever read. You are going to love it. She's going to share wisdom and action steps from her new book, I Shouldn't Feel This Way. She's been on the show before. She's full of wisdom and depth, and this is one of those episodes that you're going to want to listen to over and over and over again. And now, without further ado, here's my friend, Alison. Dr. Alison Cook, it is great to have you back on the show. You have written the best book on emotions that I have ever read. Congratulations on I Shouldn't Feel This Way. I think it's phenomenal. Now, for you as an author, how do you pick the book you're going to write? Like, how do you decide, I'm just going to tackle tangled emotions? That's no big deal. What does that look like?
Thanks, Allie. That's so kind of you. I appreciate that. This one, I honestly would say I had in my mind these 3 books that I've written, and this was the last one. This was the one that was like, we got to deal, and it comes out of my personal life. We've got to deal with our emotions. We've got to deal with this tangled up knot inside of us. It's a forward facing book, right? My assumption is we've done some internal work. We've done some of the therapy. We've set some of the boundaries. And yet with life, every single day, just today, I have this tangled up knot of emotions about a decision I've got to make. How do I work through that? So I really wanted it to be sort of the ongoing work that we have to do every single day.
I love that. Now, as a professional, have you seen Inside Out 2?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Did you love it? Were you annoyed by parts of it? How does it feel?
They did a fantastic job. I cried during some of the anxiety scenes. I really thought they did a good job. And then I actually watched in the credits, they consulted with top psychologists who are really, there was good, sophisticated psychology underneath both movies, but particularly Inside Out 2. There was really deep lessons in there. So I thought they did a great job.
I've wondered, what is it like to be a therapist going to see Inside Out? I felt very seen, no spoilers, but I felt very seen in the beginning when Joy makes the contraption to make the bad memories go to the back of the, like, we're never going to think about these things again. As someone that only wants to think about the good things, I really felt seen. And I was like, I get you, Joy. I get you. Let's throw all those bad memories to the back of the brain.
That's a good point. That's that Enneagram 7 part, right? I think we've talked about in the past that's very adept. Yeah, they really illustrated. And yet she serves an important role. She just has to make room for some of those harder emotions. So I thought it was really well done, and it was timely with my book coming out, because this is what we're talking about, is that it's not just name your emotions. We have a bundle of emotions. There's a whole bunch of them, usually all conflicting with each other. And so it's a little bit, sometimes in the therapeutic world or in the meme world, it can kind of, we need to validate our emotions or name our emotions. And I think to myself, that's true. And it's complicated work inside of us to tease it out.
I love how you're always talking about the tangled mix of emotions, and kind of dive into that and paint that picture for us of how you explain our inner workings.
Yeah, I tried in the book to illustrate, even as a clinician, if a client comes to me and I'm really mad at my husband. And so what's going on in my mind is about 16, like compassion. Oh, that's hard. And don't give up too quick. But maybe sometimes if it is, what if it is toxic? Then I want to protect you, right? I'm having all of those different responses simultaneously often. And most of us we're having a complicated mix of emotions. And so I think about it like, when we don't do the work of kind of honoring, just learning how to kind of let those different, I call them truth pieces, each one has a little grain of insight or a little grain of truth. If we try to grab one and make that one the right one, if we don't just kind of let them float through, we create a knot. we create something that isn't effective. We create something that feels kind of tense and tangled up inside versus this is normal. This is normal to sit with someone who's hurting, to sit in a hard situation, to sit in a situation where someone's activated us or said something cruel, to feel a whole bunch of things all at once. That's normal. Often the very first thing we have to name is, oh, I'm feeling a whole lot right now. I don't even know how to name it. I just know it's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And I will say, for me, the Enneagram 7, the let's just throw all these bad memories to the back of the brain. It is so much easier for me to go, let me find the silver lining. Let me find something that's good and let me not spend the time to name this and spend time with it. And of course, what happens in that situation is things keep coming back up. I remember years ago, I was working with a therapist and she got so frustrated with me. And she said, if you would just do the things that I keep asking you to do, you'd feel better faster. And I go, oh, okay. Well, let me work on that because we do need to untangle them and we do need to realize them. I like how you addressed in your book the pseudo solutions that people turn to. Talk about pseudo solutions. And I'd love to hear you talk about, I'm going to frame it this way. You may not frame it this way. The semi-dangerous therapy speak that we've seen taken over social media. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of these things.
Yeah, anything that gets memed, this is sort of what I call it. There's this grain of truth. You see it from the toxic positivity space. Just choose joy, and it's like, you can almost feel the grit in your teeth, right? It's like, what does that even mean? You see it even in the boundaries world, just these very oversimplified, just say no, just get out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, first of all, if the person's a gaslighter or a toxic abuser and you just say no, you might be setting yourself up for more harm. These are very nuanced decisions and conversations. So we see that, just these sort of oversimplified, let go and let God, just have faith. We see them from faith communities too. And I always just go, what does that even mean? It's so meaningless when we're actually facing the complicated challenges that we face. So in my mind, when we're really dealing with something that is stirring up complexity, complicated emotions inside of us, the first step that I talk about, this work of naming, I always say to people, I rarely go to, I'm angry. Often my journal is a little list. I did it this morning, had all these flickering thoughts and feelings, just like, I'm feeling kind of sad. I'm kind of mad. I don't know what to do. It's just a bunch of little and I just kind of try to give a second, to each one in my journal. Journal naming is a big one for me. And just giving myself that moment to honor, this is complicated. There's a lot here. This is not simple. That's okay. It's going to help me arrive at a better solution in the long run.
As opposed to just the bumper sticker platitudes.
That's right.
And
I should just say no. I should not. I shouldn't feel this way. Those kind of really quick fix pseudo solutions try to push us to, something. Our child says something to us and we feel a bunch of anger. The meme is you should just choose joy. You should just, choose the loving response, in that moment. And so we're gritting our teeth, saying, something that they're picking up on is not actually what we feel, instead of just going, stepping back. Isn't that interesting? I'm feeling a whole lot here. Let me take a minute. That's the more honest, genuine response in that moment.
I will chime in to the things that irritate me that I see on social media. I see it all the time. No is a complete sentence. That irritates me because, yes, it is. But do you really just want to answer no and not give any context? Not teach people about your boundaries at the same time? Not let people know what's acceptable to you and what's not? Not say no because X, Y, and Z so people know in the future how to engage with you. Yeah. That one drives me crazy. And I'm just happy to be able to share that with you in the world right now.
I hear you. There's so many. And that's a great one. It's so true.
Is there anything else that you see go by that gets you every time you see it?
Honestly, I will say the therapist in me, a lot of this is a trauma response. Everything is a trauma response. Everything. And I think to myself, sometimes sometimes it's just, I think it completely reduces, first of all, that when there actually is a trauma response and when we're just kind of in a human moment. So that's one where that sort of social media world around therapy, these sort of, I think I saw one the other day, overthinking is a trauma response. And I thought, well, it could be, you know, and also it could be a lot of other things.
To have success in social media, you're supposed to shock people with an initial statement.
Exactly.
And that shocking statement, unfortunately, often isn't true. But the more outlandish it is, the more people will engage with it, where just like life, everything is much more nuanced. When you come at social media with nuance, that requires a lot of thoughtfulness. And I think it's important to have people like you really discuss this so it helps people understand what they're dealing with as they're scrolling.
Yeah, it's really true. It's a hard place to show up with nuance, but you can find it. You just got to look for it.
Yeah, you do it very well. Another thing you do well is the concept of name, frame, brave. Will you teach us about that?
Yeah, so I lay this out in the book, and there really are three practices. It's not, again, so this is another social, these are the three steps to never having a bad, always being able to make a great decision. And I'm like, well, boy, if you could bottle that up, you would be rich and famous and we would all be free. But these are practices, right? They are steps, but they're practices that I still, to this day, like this morning, I was like, I've got to name what I'm feeling and I don't want to because I just want to fix it. And I believe the path through the tangled up knot. And it starts with naming. And I always say to people, naming, again, is simply asking yourself, what is going on inside of me right now? What am I feeling right now? And it's not to someone else necessarily. It's that turning your attention inward. So much of us are attuned to what everybody else is feeling around us. Mm-hmm. And so it's taking that pause. Again, like I said, you're in the middle of parenting, you're in the middle of a conversation with a friend, and it's like, oh, I'm feeling something right now. What is that? Even that moment of just going, I'm feeling something can bring relief because there's a sense of honoring yourself in that. The reason I chose the book, the title, I shouldn't feel this way, is because that's often the first thing we notice. I'm feeling something I feel like I shouldn't. I shouldn't be feeling mad at my friend right now. I shouldn't be feeling jealous. I shouldn't be feeling mad at my kids. Often that's, I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling bad about the way I'm feeling. Isn't that interesting, right? It's just that awareness. So that's the first practice. Just giving yourself the gift of conscious awareness. I will tell people you can do it in the morning through journaling. I've taken on the practice. I try a couple times a day, whether I'm walking or driving in the car, just trying to not turn on the radio, not turn on a podcast, not talk to a friend, and just be with my thoughts and feelings in the car. What am I thinking about?
That is so hard. How long did it take you to get used to doing that?
It's life-changing. It's life-changing. I can get out of the habit when I get really busy and I don't want to do it. But the minute I just turn it off and I go, we are fascinating people. It's learning to spend time with yourself. And when you can do it here's the thing, Allie, without shaming yourself, but also without needing to immediately finding solutions.
It's so hard.
That's what trips us up more. It's like, I don't want to notice what I'm thinking and feeling because I don't know how to solve it.
Yeah.
But when you practice that muscle of just like being in your car going, wow, I am really angry at that friend. What is that about? It sort of becomes this curiosity, kind of this, isn't that interesting? You build trust with yourself. Okay, I don't know what it's about, but let's take some time each day to maybe wonder about that. Is there something there? Is it me? Or is she doing something that's I don't like? Maybe I need to talk to her about. We're not going to rush to a decision. We're not going to rush again to the mean thing. Well, because someone made me mad, I should just cut them out. It's more of a getting curious about yourself, showing yourself the same benefit of curiosity that we show our friends, that we show our kids, that we show other people. Gosh, what is going on in my head today?
I love that. And it takes a lot of bravery. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of intention and a lot of bravery because again, I'm Joy. Just let me push those thoughts right out of my head and
Yeah.
not deal with it. And then wonder later in the day why my energy's low or why I'm not feeling great because I didn't want to be curious and kind of get into it with myself earlier in the day. Okay, I'm inspired. I'm going to take a drive and I'm not going to listen to a podcast. I'm not going to listen to music. I've been thinking about this Sunday morning walks, like before the kids
Mhm.
wake up. It's normally I'm listening to something. And I've been thinking about one day a week, just me outside
Mm.
on my walk. Like, what could happen? My joke is God always talks to me in the shower because it's the only time I'm not listening to something and I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything because I'm like,
Yeah.
could that walk turn into more shower thoughts time? I don't know.
I will tell you, when I started practicing this, I just started to see things and have breakthroughs
Wow.
and start to notice things I was hiding from and like, oh, I actually should, that's actually a path I need to take. I mean, we are really remarkable creatures in how we're wired. And I'm not sort of a middle introvert, extrovert. I'm an
Mhm.
Enneagram 3. I like to be efficient. I don't necessarily want to go into my emotions, but the
Yeah.
practice, to me, it's a muscle. It's a
Mm.
practice of, to me, it feels like honoring my own God-given capacity to really actually be quite astute about things that I sometimes don't want to face, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect
Um,
sense.
and I think we all have that more deeply than we give ourselves credit for once we begin to practice it and unlock that power.
I love that. Okay, another thing I want you to talk about is the concept of gaslighting yourself.
Mhm.
What does this mean? What does this look like? Teach us.
So gaslighting it's got two components to it. Well, we usually think about it when other people are doing it to us. There's a
Mhm.
lie and then there's a projection. And
Mm.
so if I'm gaslighting you and you're saying, oh, we have a podcast scheduled at this time today, and I say, no, we don't. So that's a lie because we did. And then I say, you're crazy. I'm deceiving you. And then I'm also blaming you for it,
Wow.
right? It's really toxic. So when we do it to ourselves, and I want to say this, if we are doing this to ourselves, we've picked it up somewhere typically. We've had it done to us. We've learned this as a coping tactic, but it's almost like we're going, you don't feel that way. You're stupid, or you don't feel that way. You're weak. We're sort of invalidating the experience and then shaming or blaming ourselves for it, as opposed to, I do feel angry. That is the truth. I don't know yet what to do about it or why I feel that way, but I do feel that way.
What are some common ways just in our daily lives that you've seen maybe people that you've worked with or in your research where we do end up gaslighting ourselves? What are some other situations?
A lot of times it comes out of, like I said, our own early experiences of not knowing what to do with
Mhm.
painful or negative emotions. Usually, painful emotions, negative emotions are cueing us to something, that maybe a boundary that does need to be set or a harm that is being done. They're usually there for a reason, or something that is sad. Again, I really try to be careful, Ali, not to lay blame. We didn't start really talking about emotions, even in psychology, until like the 90s. I mean, so most of us were raised without this understanding, most of us that are of a certain age,
Yeah.
without this really nuanced understanding of the importance of honoring emotions and teaching our kids, okay, here's the emotion that you're having. I get that you're angry. You don't get to punch your brother and you can be angry, right? That's a nuanced understanding of emotion that's more part of our modern. To your question, a lot of us were kind of raised just to, those emotions just kind of swirled around inside of us. I don't know what to do with the fact that I'm feeling things that I don't understand and nobody around me is naming, even in a reasonably healthy family. I don't like the way my dad talks to my mom. I don't like the way that my mom is yelling at my sister, whatever the thing is, but
Why is
nobody's
everyone self-medicating? I don't know.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I remember you wrote in your book, I thought it was so powerful about how you were aware as a kid that all the people, your aunts putting on these big family productions, actually were kind of bitter about it.
Yeah. Something
Right.
was wrong. I just didn't know what was wrong because I didn't have any language for it.
That's right. And so then what do you do with that? So one of the things we might do is say, I'm the crazy one. I'm the one.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is saying we're happy. I don't experience it that way. So I must be the crazy one here. And that's a form of self-gaslighting in a way.
I never thought about it that way, but what a perfect way to describe it. And essentially, we're abandoning ourselves when we do that. Yeah.
And we don't know any better. We know the adults in our lives are saying this is normal, even though we're going, this doesn't seem normal. So we blame ourselves.
As an author with my books, even I go into every book going, I'm kind of an expert in this. Let me share my expertise. But I end up being surprised by the research or surprised by what I uncover when I'm writing.
Yeah.
What surprised you with this book?
What a great question. I think what surprised me was how powerful this framing practice is. It's the least glamorous. People kind of love this idea of naming.
Yeah.
That's kind of become more, we need to name it. We need to name what we're feeling. We need to name what's hard. People love the idea of taking action. Just show me the path. What do I need to do? What boundary do I need to set? How do I speak up for myself? And I do give a lot of those scripts and tips in the book. But this work of framing really surprised me. And as I researched it, I thought we've done a better job historically of honoring, I call them places in between, of honoring these transitional seasons. I use some examples. Think about a pregnancy. You find out you're going to have a baby. You've got all these months before the child arrives. This is a place in between, a liminal season to go, wow, I'm leaving behind a certain way of being in the world. And I'm going to be taking on this whole new role. I need some time and space to process that. We used to honor that maybe a little bit better in relationships, through an engagement period. I'm going to stop being a single person. I'm going to become a married person. Well, that's a whole thing. What does that mean for me? How do I think about that? And as I began to kind of research that historically, I thought we've kind of lost some of that. Mm-hmm. And even when you think about mental health, noticing I've got this habit or this anxiety or this relationship that's really hard. And then we're expected to just jump right into, okay, I'll leave the relationship or I'll do that. It's like, I talk about this all the time with folks who have to leave or extract themselves from hard relationships and they shame themselves that they can't do it more quickly. I'm like, oh, it takes time. There's a whole process there of really recognizing and honoring something has happened here. And I'm not ready yet. I don't know quite who I'm going to be on the other side of this. And this whole place in between matters. It matters to our health. It matters to doing it well. I don't need to rush it. I can linger there a little bit with good people around me. It's not always a pleasant place to be. It's disorienting. But I think that's what surprised me is, oh my gosh, this might be one of the most important steps of all of them, is giving ourselves permission to have that.
I think it's really powerful. And I think we should make framing sexy. How do we do? Naming is sexy, but framing should be sexy because it's so powerful. And no one ever talks about this.
I've learned in small ways. So there's the big ways of I'm going through a season. I've started saying it to my husband. I'll be like, we've been going through a lot of major life transitions. I'll be like, this is going to take me a minute. It's going to take me a few months to process. If I'm a little more edgy, if I'm a little more anxious, I just want you to know that's what's going on versus, trying not to be that way. Yeah. But even in little ways, Allie, I've learned, even with like our text, sometimes text culture, let alone social media where you're expected to reply so instantly, I've given myself much more permission to either not reply right away or say, I need to think about it for a minute. I'm not sure. It's just giving myself permission to create a little tiny place in between to make sure with emails, with responses, even in a conversation with a friend who's sharing something with me. I don't know what I think about that. I want to get back to you. Little things like that. That's been powerful for me.
So that would be what changed you writing the book, do you think? That or any other things?
when I got to that chapter, that was my, oh, this is such an important bridge. And personally, recognizing, oh, there are so many ways I need more of this in my life. I need more of this in my life in little and big ways, to give myself permission to not have to give the quick answer, to not have to give the quick reply, that you give someone a gift of saying, I'm not sure right now. This is hard. This is complicated. It's honoring. So I can do that for myself and then model it for other people too.
I love that. I've been trying to not answer people immediately. Like when someone comes to me with an idea or a meeting or a coffee or a collaboration, my rule of thumb, I'm trying, is to say, oh, let me get back to you on that. And at least give
Great.
myself 24 hours, because my go-to is always yes. I mean, I have a bias to action. I have a bias to yes. And I've realized in my life that bias to yes made me do a lot of things out of obligation that a past Allie said yes to that current Allie was angry about.
Mm-hmm.
So I love what you're saying about giving ourselves space and time in so many different ways. So different parts of ourselves aren't angry at ourselves for
Yeah.
lashing out or saying yes too fast or saying yes to something that we actually needed to give a gracious no to.
Yeah. Giving ourselves that place in between. I love the 24-hour rule. I'm going to give myself 24 hours to just take a breath, you
Yeah,
know?
I think it was Mike Hyatt who said, I'm probably misquoting him, but something along the lines of like, I never say yes in a meeting or on the phone. So he makes himself go and think
Mhm.
about it, especially collaborations and things like that. And I went, oh, such a good rule of thumb. But I love the idea of kind of making up best practices for ourselves. So I
Yes.
love the best practice of space and time.
One of the other things that really hooked me when I was writing was the idea of dissonance I get into, how we feel, like the thing about I want to say yes, but I don't want to say yes. You know? And how prevalent that is, and how just honoring, oh, I feel that tug. That means I need to give myself a minute, right? Because I got to work through it. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Now, some fun things that I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you that you don't even have to take time to think about because they're that fun and inconsequential. So, number one, song that you're loving right now.
This is cliche, but it's true. I have had Fortnite on repeat, Taylor Swift. It's just so haunting. I don't know what it is. It's just in my psyche.
Quote recently that Billy Joel said that Taylor Swift and somebody else, I forget who he said, are the only people really putting out albums right now. And I was like,
Um,
I love that Billy Joel is shouting out Taylor Swift. Like,
that's cool.
what an
Yeah.
amazing world we live in.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about a TV show or movie?
I've been watching Couples Therapy.
Of course you have.
It's really it's really fascinating. That's been on my rotation.
That's great. I've never even heard of it, so fill me in.
It's a documentary. Her name's Orna. She's a real psychoanalyst who sees couples, and it's real. She's
Oh,
actually,
really?
working with real couples. Oh, yeah. And it's really well done. It's been really popular. And you get the sort of 8-week arc of with the couple. And
And the real couple is like, yeah, just air our
the,
business out to the world.
they've signed up, and it's well done. It's not, I mean, I guess it is a form of reality television, but
Yeah.
she's a really legitimate therapist and doing good work. Of course, I'm just always interested in stuff like that. But and then Inside Out too.
Yeah.
I did just see that, and that was really fun.
Really fantastic.
Yeah.
What about a book that you've recommended that other people read?
Gosh, I've been reading a whole bunch of books. This book, Wayfaring, again, this is right up. We're going to be, he's a Duke psychiatrist writing about a Christian approach to mental health care in just such a beautiful way. It's just been a beautiful read. It's just so refreshing kind of to bring the best of science. He's a real scientist bringing in with really beautiful theology and real research. So I've been just kind of sinking my teeth into that.
I love that. That's perfect for you. I mean, you are this
Yeah.
expert at the intersection of faith and psychology. So
Yeah.
that's a perfect
Yeah.
read. I love that. What about a product that made you want to text a friend and tell her she needed it?
So my family is really into Element.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about
Oh, yes,
elements?
yes. Mm-hmm. I just took a team trip with my team and brought Element for everybody so they could survive the heat in Florida.
It's pretty amazing. We're
It
kind of
is.
hooked on it. So I've told a few friends about that.
What's your favorite flavor?
The citrus.
I
Yeah.
love the citrus too. That's great. Okay, now this is an extra one for you. Favorite lower priced and a little more expensive personal care product. Could be cosmetics, could be
Ooh.
hair. Your hair looks amazing and your lipstick is glowing today. So I'm going to ask you affordable and a little more luxurious. What do you like?
Okay, I'll give you my lower price because you mentioned my hair
Okay.
right before I came on. I grabbed my L'Oreal spray root touch up, and
Yep.
it works really well. You
It's
know,
great.
just just a little bit not expensive. Just gives you a little more time before you have to go back into the salon. So that's my lower price. I would say a Brook linen down lightweight comforter.
Oh.
I love down comforter, but you have to balance that out with your spouse.
Yeah.
And their lightweight comforter has been really, really perfect for us.
I love that. Okay. See, this is why I asked the question. It's really just for me. It's for me. Now you have, of course, the best book on emotions. I shouldn't feel this way. You have an amazing podcast. Tell everyone about your podcast so they can tune in to your show there.
Yeah, thank you. The Best of You podcast, we come out every Thursday. It is all things faith and mental health. We just talk about all the things in that broad category. I have guests on. Sometimes I do solo episodes, and it's really fun. I love doing it. You've been on, you've been a great guest. We love having you. So you can find me anywhere podcasts are out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. As always, it's been great.
Thanks for having me, Allie.
How great was she, right? I told you this is a special one. Of course, I'm giving away books. Just tag me and tag Dr. Alison Cook on Instagram, share it in your stories and tag us, and you'll be entered to win. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe and you like it and you leave a comment, and you'll be entered to win a book. I'm going to give away 5 books. Because of that, I want to tell you, I'm so happy that you're here. I love giving away books. I love sharing wisdom. I love bringing in brilliant people on the show who are going to help us in our spiritual health, and today in our emotional health and our professional success, because it doesn't just benefit us, it benefits everyone around us. And I believe in what's inside of you. I believe in your dreams. I believe you're making an impact on this world for good. And that's why you're here, because you're learning a little something that's going to turn into a light bulb moment, something that's going to change just a small thing about what you do. But it's those small things done over and over again through life that turn out to have huge changes, because God created you to do something special and unique in this world, and He is empowering you to do it bit by bit every day. And I love to get to coach and equip you every single week, now twice a week. So keep stepping up, keep showing up, keep loving well, because you know the truth. You can't break a woman who gets her strength from God. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be back with you soon. I'm supposed to be done coughing by now. Control the hair. Okay. I don't know what I'm saying. Let me just do that again. And if you're watching on I'm off today. Thank you for putting up with me. And cut.